Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to episode number 4 of Crafting Leadership podcast. So it is a podcast where we talk about topics revolving around leadership in IT. So my name is Mac. I'm a principal craftsperson at Codurance. Today I'm joined with Natalie, who is our head of partnerships.
Hi, Matt. How are you doing today?
Right, awesome. Nice to have you today. We're also joined by Matsi, who is our software craftsperson as well. So Matsi also been involved in some partnership activities, events, and conference. So yeah, happy to have you today.
Thanks, mate. Good to be here.
And also we have Ron, who is our yet another senior craftsperson.
Yep. Hi. Thanks for having me again.
Cool. Okay. So Natalie, so maybe we could start with you talking a bit about how does a week of head of partnerships look like?
Well, that's a big question. I guess it depends on which week you're talking about. Like last week, for example, I was in London meeting partners to talk about how we can continue kind of driving sales engagement and opportunities via our partnership. The day after that, I was at a partner summit. The day after that, I was at the AWS summit in London, where I think there was about 20,000 attendees, so kind of big event, and then kind of coming back, working out sort of how to distribute those leads, and yeah, continuing the conversation on how to sort of drive our partnerships to meet our business goals. So that was quite a kind of a very busy week in partnerships. This week is probably more of a kind of normal week when we don't have lots and lots of events happening. So it's really about how do we connect via marketing, our technical people and our sales teams to drive Codurance's business objectives through our partnership. So I guess there isn't really a typical week, but every day of every week I'm engaging with people both within Codurance and outside our business, obviously, to progress existing partnerships, but also looking to the future. So what businesses out there could we connect with that are going to help us achieve Codurance's business goals and KPIs as we continue.
So I was actually lucky enough as well to be there with you during that AWS summit, and there were a lot of great conversations. We had a lot of partners and potential clients as well. So after such events, I guess, as you mentioned, there is a time of like we need to process all of that, what happened, like conversations we had. So is there any specific methodology that you use, or like how does that week after such a big event look like, let's say?
So it's a big kind of the build up to a big event like that. We were a gold sponsor, so there was a lot involved in our having a successful presence at a conference like that, but it's really the follow-up is the most important part. So we have KPIs in place to achieve a certain number of new business revenues and projects. Lots of kind of KPIs to ensure that investing and having a presence at certain events is going to drive our business and brand awareness. It might be recruitment is a big reason that lots of businesses sponsor as well. So we kind of came back, got all the leads, kind of worked together to decide on who would be best to follow up those leads, and now it's just kind of getting them all into our CRM, following them up, and having ongoing meaningful sort of meetings and conversations with the people that we met that we feel would either be good partners or they would be good potential customers. Are they people that want to get more involved in our community? Do they want to host some events? Or do they actually want to work for Codurance? So there's some kind of recruitment angle there as well. So the follow-up to anything is as important as the preparation to be at those events as well. So yeah, it's all kind of head down, and the sooner that we can engage with people following the event, the better. because these leads are the hottest sort of the day or two after the event. We can't kind of rest on our laurels and think, oh, those people that came to see us, we were the only sponsor that they spoke to. Those attendees would have spoken to many other businesses like Codurance at an event like that. So it's now important to kind of get those meetings booked in and help to continue those conversations into solid opportunities for Codurance.
Mm-hmm. So we'll get to Matsi in a moment, because I'm also interested in, like, from the technical perspective, because Matsi was organizing some events from the technical point of view when we're actually organizing those workshops. But just one question to you, Natalie. For example, we are talking about what happens after such an event, but in terms of like actions leading towards that event, I'm guessing there's also some kind of maybe trying to get to some people that will be there during that event, so that they're already like waiting for us to be there and already like waiting to have a chat. I guess that's also quite important part of the process.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we are kind of planning our sort of strategy in terms of event marketing, we'll be looking at a kind of a calendar of events. So which events do we want to have a presence at in terms of speaking? Which ones do we just kind of want to attend and go and kind of, for networking reasons? Which ones do we want to sponsor? Which ones do we want to organize ourselves? Because we also run a lot of our own webinars and in-person events. So in the build up to a large kind of sponsored conference, then absolutely, we would be reaching out to our network and prospects, people that we've been sort of having conversation with anyway, that we'd love to come and meet us at our stand. You can kind of meet our leadership team, and hopefully we can have those conversations in person at the event, and they'll also get the value of learning all there is to learn about, well, in this case AWS, but it could be any kind of tech event like that. So I think so from a partnership perspective, it was quite challenging driving partnerships during the lockdown period. I actually joined Codurance, I think like yourself, Maciek, in I think I was April 2020. I think you may have been as well.
August, 1st of August.
Okay, yeah. So we were in kind of full on lockdown by that point in 2020, and trying to kind of drive partnerships. We did progress the partnerships, absolutely, but not having that face-to-face opportunity to kind of build those human connections was a lot more challenging. So having the opportunity now to go and meet partners and people within those partner companies, so aligning our sales to theirs, our marketing people to theirs, our leadership to theirs, and our engineers to their engineers, and meet people in person, then it just makes the whole, it's more enjoyable. It's more fun to be able to speak to people about their projects and challenges in person, really.
In person, exactly. We'll get to that like alignment in terms of the sales and the strategies and I guess the technical aspects as well of how various companies do things technically. Matsi, Ron, so I know you're like involved heavily in some like technical preparations for some like conferences, or I know you're like heavily involved in our London software craftsmanship community as well, so that's that is important as well, right? So running those bit, let's say not AWS summit level events, but they're smaller regular events for people around the area that would like to join and have a chat around specific technology, or maybe present something actually to the community as well. So I was just wondering, like, first of all, how do you approach that? How do you maybe plan that? Or is it just a natural part that's like of giving back to the community at some point, right? So you are senior, engineers, and at some point it just feels natural. You want to give back to the community at some point.
Preparing for those sorts of things is a lot of work, I find. My absolute favorite trick is to use materials I've already used before, or if I put a bunch of effort into putting a presentation together and people seem to like it, or not even, doesn't have to be a presentation, just a session, a meetup, a method of facilitating some event, then I'll reuse it as many times as I possibly can to get all the value I can out of it. And it's great to have a few of those in your back pocket where you can just if you want to run some kind of event, some meetup, there's sort of a space coming up in, say, LSCC or one of these meetups, then you can just, put your hand up out of nowhere and say, yeah, I'll do something. I'll pull out one of these things from my back pocket and we can use that session. But it depends a bit. Some things aren't, they don't require much preparation at all, but those tend to also be ones that involve a lot of involvement from the audience. So we do a lot of practical stuff in the London software craftsmanship community, and hopefully in the Bristol software crafters community I'm trying to start up as well. And that's a really good type of event to run precisely because it requires very little preparation, right? You can decide on, okay, here's a rough topic we want to cover, and here's, let's say, a programming challenge to relate to whatever we're discussing, and we can just go there and get a bunch of people on their laptops in the room programming away, and it takes minimal preparation from you, so long as you have the confidence just to walk around and chat to people and help them if they get stuck with this programming challenge. And stuff like that I find is really valuable in itself. Just being there to talk to everyone around and share your insights and thoughts and have those interesting discussions with lots of other developers. So many meetups up there are more kind of, how do I say, so many meetups out there are very much presentation up front, and you just sit there and you present and you have a few beers afterwards. And a lot of the time these presentations can cross over into, are they actually trying to teach you something, or are they trying to sell, whatever their product is, right? So I think a lot of people appreciate those more practical, let's just get together and practice what it is we do day to day and chat about it and learn sort of environments. And definitely, bringing it back to partnerships. Those are really, really valuable for the partnerships, for networking, for meeting people, for finding recruitment and sales opportunities. But even if that weren't the case, I think a lot of us, certainly I would just do it anyway because it's fun and it's interesting to do.
Also, that's kind of the point of these like smaller meetups, right? Maybe sometime every now and then you go there to listen to some very specific achievements or new technology or case study, let's say. But in the end, it's all about networking and having a chat and discussing things with people, because in the end, like in terms of partnerships, right? It's a different level that you went to a meetup like this and you listen to someone, right? Compared to I listened to someone for 10 minutes, but then we had a 30-minute discussion and we are actually delving more into something. And together with that person, we figured something that he or she did not think about previously. That's creates completely different like dynamic. I guess that's kind of the point of those like smaller meetings as well. And as you know, as we are running internally also crafting leadership community of practice, there's a presentation, it's maybe 10 minutes. But then it's all about that discussion in the end and people collaborating, exchanging ideas, and feeling more confident around those subjects that are discussed. That creates a completely different dynamic.
To build on that as well, I think it's really important that we run sort of quite a range of different types of sessions, particularly something like the LSCC. I've noticed in probably most sessions, depending on the type of session you get. So we could do a code one, we could do more of a sort of lightning talk, round table kind of thing, or we've been doing some architecture CAS, that kind of thing as well. They tend to draw in quite different crowds of people usually, which is really good because then you can sort of cater to sort of different people's, say, preferred tastes, but you could still capture craftsmanship in this case in all of these different sort of formats and sort of build those connections from a wider to a wider audience. And we're very much trying to sort of promote, I guess, this idea that, yeah, we sort of help facilitate the LSCC and software craftsmanship movement at Codurance like quite heavily, but we don't want to own it. So we try and build up these partnerships with other people and, start hosting with other people's companies or sort of work with them to do it and that kind of thing, which just helps sort of expand that partnership. And that could even just be from a simple case of, oh, we're having some really interesting conversations at Codurance to, oh, now we're having this interesting conversation sort of somewhere else, but you start sort of bringing more people in, more companies, and you just sort of start building up this web of communications. And similarly to sort of how Natalie was describing it, which I really liked, it's not just about sort of, say, a sales opportunity or a recruitment opportunity. It's kind of like a whole load of things that come together, and you start building up these connections, even in sort of quite subtle ways sometimes. You just start getting this nice list of people, and you start seeing the same sort of people, and you sort of start knowing some more industries better, or some other companies.
Yeah, because I guess at some point, especially like for a consultancy like ours, but I guess even for like product-based companies, it's at some point they need to realize they cannot achieve everything on their own, right? So at some point they may need some really in-depth security, let's say specialists to take a look at it from that point of view. Or it seems they would leverage some kind of machine learning in some parts of their applications, or do some cloud native advanced things as well, which they simply do not have in-house. And it's, I guess, much better to have like a partner they can rely on to help them out with those like more complex things, or simply things they do not seem comfortable with day to day.
Definitely. I mean, most tech companies these days will have a very established kind of channel program. They have all sorts of different partners, support partners, integration partners, technology partners. The role of the DevRel has grown hugely over the last few years. So kind of developer relations people, evangelists that are kind of going out and building, people that are enthusiastic about a technology company's technology. So partnerships is, I would say, becoming kind of really central to a lot of tech businesses' strategy for growth, definitely. Well, growth, but also kind of success. So, we work with a number of technology partners who have a really solid technology offering, but in terms of making sure that their customers, are using the technology in the best way, and that they're kind of, helping them to kind of grow and love this technology and really use it to its best capacity. That's where, partners like Codurance can come into play, because we not only understand the technology, but we also obviously can help them, understand how to improve the way they're actually sort of building and deploying their software in sort of complex environments. So for me, partnerships is almost touches, well, I guess it really kind of does touch almost every part of the business. I mean, I work alongside our people in marketing, sales, the leadership team, obviously all of you technology people, and it kind of is a two-way thing, really. So yeah, I think it is really, really central to a lot of things that people are doing in the tech industry these days.
It's almost like you can even say you cannot go about it, really. I mean, back in the day, like 15, maybe even 10 years ago, it's like the applications were completely different than right now, right? There was some kind of a basic JavaScript front end, some CRUD, application, and some basic things around that, let's say, which like a cross-functional team like could figure out on themselves. But right now we have, cybersecurity, we have the need for like data lakes for like whole data analysis, the machine learning that I mentioned, and a whole lot of other things. So basically it's like you cannot really go around it, and it's far better to try to nurture those partnerships from the very beginning, rather than be work in a more like a reactive fashion. If there's a real disaster, then you try to look for these partners, which I guess is not the best way to go in the end.
Yeah, I think a really good example of how partnerships have really sort of driven technology adoption. I know Matsy was involved with the Rust Nation event. So I don't know, Matsy, if you just want to quickly talk about the Rust community. And I think that's a great example of the Rust community kind of embracing partnerships within the community to help drive adoption and awareness and best practices around that particular technology.
Yeah, certainly. That whole conference and that whole sort of partnership was really, really good fun. It came out of just going to a lot of meetups basically and just getting involved, meeting the community. Like Rowan was saying, you just kind of get to know people and recognize people, and sort of vice versa. People come to get to know and recognize you. And I think one of the main organizers for Rust Nation was someone who had actually was already aware of me-ish through some of the online stuff I'd been doing and publishing around Rust. And so when I first met them, they had me at a disadvantage, but they knew immediately off the bat, oh, this is someone who talks about Rust stuff and does presentations and does tutorials and things like this. So he'd already known me from some of the stuff I'd done, and not long after that, we got to talking about, hey, we're looking for people to come in and run these workshops. And not long after that, it was a case of, well, okay, I'm well up for doing that. Sounds fun. It sounds interesting to do. But what's in it for Codurance? You know, we need a kind of back and forth around like what are our mutual benefits, because Codurance is obviously not going to pay me to go and do this if there's nothing in it, if I could be earning money for Codurance on a client or something. And then, you know, we arranged a sort of sponsorship where we would get a bunch of these sort of marketing material advantages involved in the conference is the word. And yeah, I actually probably shouldn't call it a sponsorship. I think we called it a partnership, because strictly Codurance wasn't paying anything. We were like offering labor and getting the same sort of equivalent benefits in return that others were getting through sponsorship, through paying money. And yeah, it was a really fabulous event. We met lots of interesting people, made lots of interesting contacts at lots of companies, and really got in there at the ground level with everything that's happening at the Rust community, and met a lot of people who have been around in the Rust community for a long time but weren't really aware of Codurance, and made ourselves known in that space. It was really valuable. Yeah, I'm not sure what my overall point here is, but be sure to get out and do things like that, because really interesting opportunities like that might just be around the corner if you just go out and meet more people and go to more of these events.
Kind of highlights sort of, you kind of framed it, particularly at the end, the way I like to think of it, that not everything needs to lead to a sort of some direct big partnership. Just being able to meet other people, sort of having a bit of knowledge about who they are and what they do can help loads. I've, through like LSCC, even just like chatting with people at the pub afterwards, you get to sort of know who people are and what they're doing, and they've helped me solve problems. I've helped other people solve problems, and sort of you get to know what other people do, what other people's companies do, and you know, it can be in the back of people's minds for later, and that stuff does sort of build up over time.
It reminds me of something funny that happened at Rust Nation, where I met JFrog, are very involved in the Rust community, and I met them there. They had a stall, and I just got talking to them for like 20-30 minutes, because they had some nice merchandise and bits I wanted to go over for that, really. But I ended up talking to them about their product for a while, and then literally just the next week, I had a client had a problem with something to do with what's JFrog's product called, Artifactory. And because I'd coincidentally been talking to them just a week before the conference, I happened to have discussed exactly what they were talking about and knew the answer right away. It is really handy, just even in ways you don't immediately expect.
It's kind of this like planting the seed kind of a thing, right? It's like from their side and from your side as well. Cool. So maybe we can shift the topic a bit. So we had a little bit of a chat around, you know, the partnerships, the events, the conferences. So as we're talking about, you know, leadership. So I'm just wondering, what do you think? Like, what are the some of the leadership qualities that are required, that are essential, let's say, or beneficial when it comes to managing partnerships, or when you're at that position who manages partnerships, or you're involved in managing various partnerships? So I was just wondering your thoughts on that.
Yeah, from my perspective, I think just having very clear kind of KPIs with what you're trying to achieve. So yeah, being able to kind of convey what those KPIs are, being able to keep people kind of updated on progress. Some partnerships, there's lots of different types of partnerships. Some are kind of quicker. You might think, oh, we're working on a project and we need a mobile dev capability, and we don't have that. So we've got a particular partner that specifically, that's their area of expertise, so we can lean on them. Those partnerships are kind of a lot easier to kind of get going. You just kind of become friends with certain partners who, we have certain things that we're very good at, they have certain things that they're very good at, and we sort of share opportunities, and we kind of carry on, and it's quite a nice sort of easy relationship that is mutually beneficial. And then you've got kind of, joining the Microsoft partner program or joining the AWS partner program, which are, you have to invest a lot in terms of training, certifications, opportunities, revenues, business plan, etc. So the ROI would probably take a little longer, since there are thousands of partners in these ecosystems, and you want to get to the point where you're the chosen partner for that particular partner to kind of bring opportunities to you. So seeing it as another sort of sales channel. So it's just kind of sort of I guess you have to sort of wear a bit of a PR hat, I guess, constantly sort of explaining the value of the partnerships and why this is kind of contributing to the overall objectives of the business. I guess also sort of being good with people is important in partnerships. It's a very human thing. I know that you three probably probably pestered you at some point about trainings and certifications, or helping us kind of write our applications to achieve certain specializations. So also, yeah, kind of, managing your own sort of workload and requirements to drive successful partnerships, but also being very mindful that the people that you need input from, particularly from a sort of technical perspective, these are usually some of the most engaged people with our customers, and obviously customers really have to come first. So it's just kind of, yeah, managing people's time and being respectful, that they have their own sort of their own KPIs and their own commitments in their own roles as well. So yeah, I think that's a few things that I would probably recommend.
It's a very, very interesting thing that you mentioned around, managing partnerships. It's around partnerships, but also in the end, when it comes to implementation and actually when work happens, it's really those like technical people, those IT people that's certain technologies are specializing in security, performance, or whatever that is, like they need to be there, right? So I guess you need to work with like for Codurance, is like our internal technical people. And so finding, is the skill set there? And if it's not there, maybe trying to help our people to, like you mentioned, certification, that's a big thing, right, in the end.
Definitely.
So maybe they're interested in something, but additionally to their interest and learning something new, they can get certified and help with the partnership program that you're trying to develop.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it helps with our partnership programs. It helps with their own career development. It helps offer the best solution to our customers, because we're always having to keep up to date with the latest services. And also, it also really helps us keep abreast of the trends in the industry. Things like, I know recently everybody's talking about generative AI, for example. What's Codurance's take on generative AI? Well, being able to be part of this partner programs, then there's lots of free trainings and webinars. There's people they can go and talk to about these things. So yeah, I think it does really help from a technical perspective as well, to kind of almost sort of constantly looking to the future. What's going to be the next thing? We provide sort of bespoke software and modernization and platform engineering. We're looking at sort of packaged offerings now. So, being able to, work with our partners to come up with sort of packaged solutions that would meet customers' needs is something that we're currently looking into, and being able to kind of get feedback from our partners on, these are sorts of things that customers, would be engaged with, is also sort of feedback and input from our partners is also really helpful when we're defining new sort of business offerings as well.
Mm. Yeah, so the package solution, that's a very interesting topic, because there's a different, I guess, conversation, not in all of the cases, but in a lot of the cases, there's a different conversation. Then yes, we can help you out. We can do some kind of an analysis. We can do some kind of assessment, I guess. And yes, we know this technology, we know this tech stack, compared to actually we have some kind of tooling, we have some kind of a very strategic package solution to handle that problem, obviously with some kind of customization and configuration according to your specific situation and requirements. So yes, that's also what I saw during the AWS Summit. That's people asking for specific those like package solutions that will be just configured, tailored towards specific situation, and would speed up the process when a partner comes in actually and helps out.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, you know, you get your solutions uploaded onto one of the marketplaces, which is, you know, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people on these marketplaces. That opens you up to another whole different sort of set of customers potentially. So, you know, being able to kind of get that foot in the door and being able to then, you know, prove our value using one of these package solutions. It's just a great way of being able to sort of find some new customers. So yeah, that's another kind of good reason that we work with these partners really.
Cool. So maybe we can ask a question like to all of you in terms of the partnerships and those events. Like, you have like an interesting like success stories, maybe that's maybe like uplifting to some of our listeners and viewers, let's say, in terms of developing those partnerships, or that it seemed to be going nowhere and then suddenly something, you know, turned around, let's say. So I was just wondering if you have such stories. Sure.
I mean, from my perspective, there's been we get a lot of engagement from our partners, and being able to sort of go to customers with, you know, a full solution. Some of that solution is by Codurance, but some of the areas that might be really specialist that we can sort of back up with a partner, then that has helped to kind of get certain sales through the pipeline. A big success story for us, I guess, would be with our customer Kazoo. So we were Kazoo's delivery partner when they were just kind of starting as a business that nobody had heard of Kazoo, and then they went from 0 to unicorn in, I think it was 9 months. And we managed to we had a very good relationship with them, with Kazoo, and we sort of facilitated for them to give the keynote at the AWS Summit last year in 2022. And then off the back of that, that really helped to kind of drive awareness of Codurance within the sort of AWS partner ecosystem. So it was, you know, a lot of effort to, you know, to make that happen. And, you know, we work a lot of, you know, really hard behind the scenes to do all of the things that we need to do to drive our partnership forward and define our sort of superpower within the partnerships. But yeah, I think that was kind of a bit of a sort of turning point for Codurance. And, you know, it just really sort of highlighted why having that deep partnership with our customers is really, really important. So, you know, partnerships, my role in head of partnerships is obviously having partnerships with other companies to drive, you know, all of our KPIs, but also having really solid partnerships with our customers is also really important, you know, to progress as well.
So from my perspective, it's possibly less maybe direct big benefit as some of Nathalie's things, but we see lots of the benefits of partnering with all kinds of different companies in, so lots of the initiatives we do. So with the LSCC, we get to go and host at other places and sort of get involved with other businesses. That provides not only this sort of community and sharing and, you know, all that stuff. We get sort of direct business leads from there. Sometimes they get a chance to see what we're about by spreading with other companies. We're fortunate to have quite a few different sort of like community of practices internally at Codurance, and we get to experience sort of guest speakers from all kinds of places there. who come in and are able to improve our knowledge internally as a company, whether it's sort of something techie or maybe something sort of more soft skills related, and lots of those partnerships. I think lots of those opportunities wouldn't exist without some of the other partnerships that we're driving our connections with, like AWS and Microsoft and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like from my side, it's an interesting thing, because I knew about the partnership program with AWS, obviously, Natalie. That's at some points I knew like my skills were like okay-ish, but I thought I would like to develop them more, and was a natural thing to help that partnership as well with AWS. Obviously, at some point, once you're certified, you can do those well-architected reviews and all the good stuff. But additionally, like once that also happened, like from my personal experience, once or twice during various engagement that I was involved in, because maybe specific AWS work was not, let's say, part of that engagement, or at least Codurance was not working around that. Like during various conversations I was having with architects, with senior engineers, and we were talking about the cloud and what is possible. And because I had that certification and all the like knowledge, thanks to all of that, it helped to expand those engagements, because they saw actually that we do actually specialize in that. We can talk about it in very detailed, very much detail, basically. So I think that's kind of a success from my points, let's say, my involvements, and it's like implicitly we were able to expand the engagement because they saw that expertise and that we actually specialize in this.
If I were to come up with an example of that, it would definitely be what I already mentioned. It would be the Rust Nation. That took months of planning to even just sort of get that secured and locked in and get the whole partnership agreed on both sides. And there were a lot of times we weren't sure, is this going to happen or not? And we were quite excited for it to happen if it did. But it wasn't at all clear for a good while whether or not we were going to get both sides to agree to some, arrangement that's mutually beneficial and make this actually happen. And then, yeah, when we actually did, and when we had done all the work necessary to prepare all that, like 6 hours worth of content, and everything went off without a hitch, just absolutely felt amazing, just absolutely wonderful to actually get it all off the ground and be there at the end being like, we just did that just happened.
Yeah, so basically giving back to the community, right? That's the success in itself, right? Awesome. So I just want to ask last question before we go. So what do you think is the future of partnerships? Is it all the existing way of collaborating between companies and consultancies is like the future, or I don't know, at some point a company they will need some expertise in general security, they'll just ask some AI tool to give it to them, or that is too far off?
I think for me, it'll just be, technology is going to become, more and more and more central to every business's strategy. I think the CEO of Microsoft always says now that every business is a technology business. So partnerships will become ever more important, in my opinion. Like we do, we're kind of a cloud partner. I think the partners that just do kind of typical sort of lift and shift migrations, they're going to have to think about what else they're going to be offering, because at some point the majority of businesses probably will be in the cloud. So kind of looking at things like, AI, machine learning, data, cybersecurity, like there's always going to be something coming along that's new. So I think partnerships will always be really critical. I think for Codurance, looking at vertical partnerships is quite interesting. So not just kind of technology partnerships, but is there kind of partnerships that we can have? Let's say, for example, we've got a lot of experience in the healthcare sector. So are there healthcare partners that we could work with so that we could have, more in-depth domain understanding of the sector and an opportunity to meet potential customers through a kind of, vertical lens. So yeah, for me, I think partnerships, that human interaction And companies working together, it's that whole kind of adage around, working together, it's greater than the sum of its parts. So you often find that working in partnership delivers more value and gives a customer a better outcome than if you're trying to do everything yourself. So yeah, I think partnerships definitely are here to stay.
I think building on that as well, there was a particular point you mentioned there that about sort of a company that does like a lift and shift, and it gave me a specific example of where I'd spoken to a company who does something like that, but they had a gap that maybe we could fill, sort of as kind of like an addition to what this other company provided. So I think a big thing in the future of partnerships will be, instead of just seeing lots of, say, other consultancies for us as, oh, they're a competitor, actually there is a lot of growing space to work with these other companies to provide a more rounded solution. And as technology, as a sector grows and there's more and more sort of avenues opening up every day, you get more and more consultancies and companies specializing in certain things. So you can't really have one place that does it all. So you need these partnerships between you to be able to offer, full solutions, better solutions and stuff to the people that need them.
And I agree very much with what both of you are saying. I think those are good points. As things evolve, as things change, there's going to be more new specialized technologies, and we can't expect to be experts in every last little thing, right? So working with other agencies, with other companies is really important. It often, I think people get anxious around the idea of working with other companies because it's like, it's almost like showing your cards, right? Because these other companies are often also your competitors. And if you're saying, oh, well, I've got this client who wants to pay me a bunch of money to do some work for them, I'd like you to also come and help us, complete this engagement, complete this project, then you're also giving them a foot in the door to try and compete with you for whatever other opportunities the client has, right? And people get very worried about that, but I don't think that's so much of I don't see that as such a concern. I think there's huge benefits to come from working together with other companies and other agencies and consultancies and whatnot, particularly with specialization becoming more important, which I think, Maciej was sort of alluding to earlier, talking about how typical web development CRUD applications, while they're certainly still important, we're seeing all sorts of new technologies arrive that have different skill sets. And the industry is very fast to sort of overhype some of these things and to, how's the phrase go, put the cart before the horse or whatever it is, to decide, oh, well, we want to invest all our money into machine learning or into whatever exciting buzzword, onto blockchain or something. But often these technologies are very exciting and interesting, are really only applicable and are really only valuable and useful in particular niche scenarios and for the right people in the right cases. And actually, you shouldn't necessarily, every single company in the entire industry doesn't necessarily need to pivot and start using these things right away. But where there are those opportunities, because they are specialized and because they are very valuable in particular situations, it's very often going to be the case that we won't have the right people for the right job, or that will have an easier time finding those people through our network and finding people who specialize in those things.
Yeah, for sure. I think the other thing, just to add to that, is around sort of sustainability. As more and more companies are facing the requirement to sort of reduce their carbon footprint and reduce cost and increase security, then partnering to make sure that we're delivering to meet those objectives is critical. So yeah, I think it's just going to get, I think partnerships are, as Matsy says, just going to become more and more important, really.
It's almost at some point you may need some kind of partnership orchestration tools, right? So there'll be so many. But actually, that's a very good point. It's like, if I'll add something from my own perspective, it's like, even like during the AWS summits, a lot of the companies, they were asking, because if we come in, usually there are already some kind of partners working with that company, right? And it's important for that company that whoever new partner comes in, that company is also able to collaborate with existing partners and try to like work with them together to achieve the client's goals mutually in the end. I think that's very important. That's what they were asking. That's what they're looking as well. And additionally, those pocket solutions, right? Because cost is always the thing, but I think lately it's very much about that business agility and speed to market. So if you're able to have a specific package solution that instead of just coming and assessing and being good at that, actually you have a very specific way and templates or a fast track to achieve something quickly, so that those benefits for the clients can be shown very, very quickly, like from the very beginning. So
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Natalie, Matsi, Rowan, was a real pleasure. Lovely to have you. And hopefully, yeah, I'll see you during some of the next episodes.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Great being on it.
Thanks. Good to see you.